So, I just finished playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I can't stop thinking about this game. This game exploded all over the internet, and for good reason. Clair Obscur is stunningly beautiful in just about every single way. The graphics are gorgeous to look at. The scenery of the world is creative and a marvel to explore. The music and the sound design, there's really only one word to describe it: immaculate. But there's so much more to Clair Obscur than just a bunch of pretty pictures. This game explores the dark, the ugly, and the bittersweet depths of our emotions and what it really means to grieve. Before we get too far, this is your spoiler warning. This game and everything about it is intimately intertwined to its story, so there's really no way for me to discuss it without getting into major spoilers. You've been warned. We start off with a dramatic opening sequence in Lumiere, centered around a major event known as the Gommage, and the mysterious giant woman who seems to cause it, the paintress. The people of Lumiere know that every year that passes means another Gommage will take place. The Gommage mysteriously takes the lives of each person of the age represented on a giant monolith. As the paintress rises, the 34 is transformed into 33, and every 33-year-old fades away into ink and petals. This whole opening sequence is stunning, and it ripped my heart apart. Sophie's Gommage left such an impact on me, and it endeared me so much to Gustav, the main protagonist we play as throughout Act 1. The world introduced to us is a fractured one, literally, with Lumiere being an island that broke off from the main continent. The giant monolith off in the distance reads 33, and we later learn that this marks the actual countdown number since the fracture happened. And because of the Gommage, no one who could remember it is left alive. Expedition 33 is made up of a ragtag bunch of 30-year-olds, and Mayel, Gustav's teenage foster sister. The 33 set off for the continent in hopes to figure out why the Gommage happens and to hopefully stop them by destroying the paintress. It's an intense cinematic with great music that gets interrupted by mass murder. You plop onto the shore for all of 2 seconds and immediately everyone starts getting blasted. A white-haired man and a group of hand monsters wipe every single one of the expeditioners out. Or do they? The beginning of this game is a whirlwind with some pretty raw and very vulnerable scenes, but eventually you find out that Gustav, Mayel, Luna, and Ciel all survived the beach massacre. From there, the 4 of you continue on with the mission, seeking a way to the monolith to take down the paintress. I love the relationship between the 4 survivors. CL is this kind of comic relief, but also a very sentimental and empathetic person. Gustav is a father and brother figure to Mayel. Lune is our steadfast leader. Just look at the way Lune and Gustav interact in this scene, being there for one another and making each other strong again. And just the joy that they have, even amongst all of the grief and the sadness of this world. I love these 4. They just work so well together. Exploring the continent was my favorite part of the game. So many of the areas are incredibly unique and beautifully designed. The Flying Waters, for instance, takes the idea of an underwater level to a whole nother level. The creativity poured into the world building in this game is off the charts. It felt less like exploring a fantasy world and more like exploring an alien planet. But as the beach massacre showed us, the continent is extremely dangerous. you fight creatures called Nevrons, which come in all different shapes, sizes, and skill types. I love the combat in this game. It's turn-based combat that leans heavily on quick time, which I love, and parrying, which I hate. Seriously, you have to parry in this game. Parrying is what gives you that big damage. The combat is super engaging, but it can get a little repetitive, especially after 40 plus hours. Gustav and friends eventually discover the Gestrals, these beings that resemble training dummies more than humans, that are absolutely obsessed with fighting, but are technically non-aggressive. Their leader Golgra suggests the 33 find Eskie, a magical creature that lives in a nearby cave. Honestly, I don't know what Eskie is, and I don't think the game does either. That's just part of his charm. He's outrageously strong, but also really goofy and very childlike. I love Eskie. He happily offers to help the 33, but first needs a magical rock that would allow him to swim, bringing them to the stone wave cliffs and one step closer to the paintress. And that's when shit hits the fan. After battling this two-phase sleep paralysis demon, the white-haired man from the beach finds the 33 and attacks Gustav. The gasp that came out of me at this scene, oh my god. The game forces you into combat with just a single HP, showing his unshakable determination and his love for Mael, refusing to run away or to try and save himself, despite her pleas. And the game makes you believe for a moment that maybe, just maybe, you'll manage to claw your way out of this. But then the game reveals that this Monopoly Man doppelganger can't die. Gustav's death broke my heart into teeny, tiny pieces. I haven't felt heartbreak like that in a very long time. And look at this scene of Eskie comforting Mael. Oh, God. I want a hug from Eskie. The follow-up scene of Mael and the remaining 33 burying Gustav was so well done. It shows the complexity of emotions surrounding the grief of losing a loved one. Mael is angry, promising to take revenge. Lune is solemn but steadfast, and Ciel is sentimental, asking him to say hi to Sophie for her. I'm a huge crybaby, so you better believe I was crying my eyes out. But when one falls, we continue. Now we play the game as Verso, the mysterious stranger who defended Mael against Renoir, the white-haired man. Verso is our exposition man, explaining that Renoir was the leader of Expedition 0, the very first expedition after the fracture, and that he himself was also a member. He even reveals that he remembers the world before the fracture, which would make him really, really old. He doesn't explain how or why, but simply tells the 33 that he and Renoir are both immortal. Not even the Gommage can kill them. With Verso becoming an official member of the 33, we head across the water to more land. In all honesty, this map is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. The in-between world exploration was a really nice touch to the game. I really like how it allows you to see the actual size of the world around them. Like, the Nevrons don't look that big in combat, and then you walk past one and they're actually massive. Exploring the Forgotten Battlefield really put into perspective the sheer scale of this conflict. The amount of fallen expeditioners, Nevrons, and other creatures found along our path really weighs heavily upon the group, but especially Mael. I really related to Mael in these scenes. She's overwhelmed by not only her own grief for Gustav, but the profuse sadness she feels for every single lost soul. The 33 pick up their fifth and final member, Monoko, who's a gestural with funny quips, dry humor, and, uses the feet of fallen Nevron to gain skills? Is this game obsessed with feet? Monoko's voice line during combat is literally,
"What lovely feet."
I'm just over here trying to do side quests and he's over there like... One of his relationship scenes is Verso and him polishing his collection of feet. Not only that, but later in the game, they confirm that he actually smells like feet. That is gross. Verso and Lune have a conversation at camp about her naming her dog Paws, and one of his responses is, that would be like if my parents named me Feet. The memes coming out of this are hilarious, I will say that, but it's pretty obvious that someone on the creative team went toe-to-toe with their foot fetish and lost. Verso explains that if we want to take down the paintress, we must first take down her heart. You see, the paintress is protected by a barrier of chroma, which gommages anyone who gets too close. The curator, or as I like to call him, the creepy crumbling man, is able to create a weapon that will bring down this barrier. To do so, we must collect the massive pure chroma from 2 axons. Originally there were 4, but the corpse of one was found by Lune and Ciel in Old Lumiere, meaning there are only 3 left alive. And this is no small feat. Verso warns us that the axons are not like typical Nevrons. After Visage and Siren fall at the hands of our incredible disaster expedition, the weapon is forged. The barrier comes down, and at long last, we are finally able to confront the paintress. This entire sequence was insanely well done. The descent onto the monolith, the music, and the atmosphere while you approach her, and the reveal that this giant, sad woman is not the paintress at all. She is the paintress, Renoir's wife, Verso and Alicia's mother. I was so proud of myself for getting this right. The paintress and Renoir's boss fights were so emotional, so well composed, and so just immaculate. The paintress's 3-phase battle only took me 2 tries, but even so, it gave me enough time to appreciate the design of it and all the little subtleties sprinkled in. I cannot stop gushing over the monolith sequence because it's so obvious how much care and passion was poured into it by the game's entire creative team. It's my favorite portion of the game, even beating out the game's opening cinematics. You defeat the paintress in an epic and melancholy battle. Her last words, a soft, "Why?" And it's over. The 33 plant their flag and journey back to Lumiere, arriving triumphant. And that's when everything changes. So this whole world, the one we've spent this entire time in, only exists in a magical canvas. The Descendre family are all painters, people with an incredible gift to paint magical worlds that feel real. The paintress is actually Verso's mother, Aline, a painter from the real world. She entered this canvas when her actual son Verso died in a fire, the same fire that left his younger sister Alicia severely disfigured. This Verso, our Verso, is not the real Verso. He only exists in the canvas. But real-world Alicia is Mayel, our Mayel. This version of Alicia, she's the painted one. And the curator is the real-world Renoir. Each member of the Descentre family has a counterpart in the canvas. Aline painted them as a way to escape her grief, painting a new version of her dead son, giving him all of Verso's memories to fix not only what she saw as her broken family, but also her broken heart. In a glimpse of the past, we're shown a flashback to when Alicia first entered the canvas, 16 years ago. Clair, their older sister, explains everything to us. Aline has spent a concerning amount of time in the canvas world, losing herself in it, prompting Renoir, her real-world husband, to enter in the canvas in an attempt to get her to come out. When she refused, Clair went into the canvas to try and help him, creating the nevrons and arguably making things way, way worse. Clair's biggest contribution to the conflict was keeping the chroma from returning to Aline, keeping her from regaining any power. Real-world Clair and Renoir are responsible for most, if not all, of the carnage inside of the canvas. Renoir himself is revealed to be the one causing the gommage, which literally translates to erasing or scrubbing out. He's erasing everyone and everything he can inside the canvas to force Aline out. The paintress, Aline, was the only force in the canvas world able to stop him. But the longer she's there, the weaker she becomes, only able to limit his gommage to just once a year. When we defeated her, we took the only person keeping Renoir from erasing everyone in Lumiere. And sadly, that's exactly what he does at the end of Act 2. This entire conflict has been one big family argument. And I've got to be honest, I don't love it. This is 100% just my personal opinion, but I don't like this twist. The whole "wake up, Neo, this world isn't real" twist is a little overplayed. It also felt very jarring to play through. I was fully immersed in this magical world and then immediately felt sucked out of it, which is probably what they were going for, but personally, it didn't really work for me. It also was trying to explain way too much too soon. For example, Clair starts immediately complaining about her mother once being the head of some painters' council and talks of the conflict in the real world between the painters and the writers and how the writers used Alicia and caused the fire that killed Verso. And the problem is, I don't really care about all of this. I am not invested in the Descentre family. I'm invested in the painted world. I'm sorry, you guys, I don't like this twist. It really makes me sad because I've loved everything about this game up until this point. But just because I don't love this plot twist doesn't mean I can't appreciate the story as a whole. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the ending. With Mayel's newly awakened paintress powers, she's able to bring back Lune and Ciel. And technically, she could bring back everyone who's ever died in the canvas. The problem is getting enough chroma to do so. By collecting the chroma from fallen expeditioners, Mayel is able to form a resurrected army to help take down Renoir once and for all. This was such a fun sequence to play. Traveling backwards through a war-torn Lumiere and watching the expeditioners take down Renoir's creations in the background was so cool. Renoir's final battle takes place underneath the Eiffel Tower. Everything about this battle was amazing. The fact that he summons the Axons to help him, the paintress returning to fight on our side, the bits of dialogue in between. And this shot of Mayel, God, she's such a badass. But once again, the Descendre family's trauma over the death of Verso is at the center of this conflict. The ending comes down to two choices: a life to love or a life to paint. We either side with Verso and destroy the canvas, releasing the last piece of his soul from endlessly painting, or we side with Mayel and cling to the painted world. The game is not subtle about which ending is the right choice. Seeing our Verso ask little Verso if he wants to stop painting was such a good touch. It makes you realize that this is what Verso wants, the real Verso. In a sad game full of sad scenes, this has got to be the saddest of them all.
Don't do this. Don't leave me again.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, huh?
I'm not mad about the ending. In fact, I actually always expected Verso to die. I think it made the most sense, because he's already dead. I am, however, a little salty about having to destroy the entire world, but I think I'll live. Now, despite being an amazing game, it's not perfect and does run into some issues, a few of which I am going to go over right now. How is this scene possible? Verso tells the 33 that the only way to take down the barrier is to get to her heart. And we know that that is just a lie. In Old Lumiere, we find the manor, and inside of it is the actual paintress. This is what Verso was after. But in a glimpse of the past, Clair specifically tells us that the fight between Aline and Renoir is at a stalemate. He has her imprisoned at the top of her monolith, and she has him trapped beneath. And this is confirmed multiple times in the game by Expedition 60's journal and Renoir's own endgame dialogue. So then, if she's imprisoned at the top of her monolith, how can she be in the manor in Old Lumiere? Now, there are a few scenarios that I've come up with to explain this. First, the manor is just an illusion and isn't actually in Old Lumiere. This is technically correct, but the problem is that the manor is also not at the top of her monolith. Instead, it's on the White Sands Island. The other explanation is that Aline is using a secret door to the manor. These doors are found all over the map, and there's even one inside the monolith which leads to her upstairs garden, so we can assume that this is how she gets in. But there's still a problem with this. This guy. Verso reveals that it was him who saved Mayel from the beach massacre, but it's actually the curator who is inside the manor with Mayel when we first find her. And the curator is Renoir. This goes against the idea that he has her imprisoned at the top of her monolith and she has him trapped beneath. And her painted family is also in there, so are they all just hanging out? Glaring angrily at each other? Perhaps this is just a mistranslation, but I can't stop thinking about it. Some of you may have noticed that I didn't talk about the romance in this game, and the reason for that is because it's a little underwhelming. After playing games like Baldur's Gate 3 and any of the Mass Effects, or heck, even just Stardew Valley, the romance in this game feels very much like an afterthought. It doesn't change anything, and a lot of the character progression we get through the romance scenes could have very easily just happened if you didn't romance them. It may sound like I'm being really critical of the game, but it's only because I loved it so much that these things really stood out to me. This is Sandfall Interactive's first game, and honestly, it's kind of crazy to believe. Clair Obscur is incredible. I mean it. I can't stop thinking about this game. The music, the cinematics, the story, the voice acting. And some of the side quests in this game are so incredibly good, especially the ones in Act 3. They add so much to the story and so much to the characters with us. I can't recommend doing more stuff enough. Like, if you finish the game, you've got to go back and play more. You have got to do these side quests because they're so good. This has major Game of the Year energy, and I'd be surprised if anything else coming out this year could beat it. But I'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching my review of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel for more video game content. I know my opinions on the plot twist are a little severe, but I really do love this game, so please don't take offense if you and I feel differently about it. We are all entitled to our own opinions, and no one's is more correct than anyone else's. I want to make a few more Clair Obscur videos talking about different story elements and focusing on character analysis, so if you'd like to see that from me, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all to my channel members. Your support is what keeps my channel going, and I appreciate you all so much. If you want to become a member, you can hit the join button next to my name. As always, you guys, I can't wait to talk to you all in the next one. Bye!
Your mother paints life, whilst your father, death. What will you paint?